What's up, y'all? You already know we're back with another fire banger of a video. So today we are going to be looking at the top 10 or my top 10 favorite horror movies of all time. This is my list. Let's just make it clear. So if you don't see a movie that you know that should be included here, but it's not, that's because I haven't seen it. It has to be movies that I've seen and that I can actually judge. And so I've created a top 10. I have my list right here. And it took some thinking actually, but I finally got the list in order and I think we're all ready to go. This list also doesn't include releases that just came out this year. These are releases, most of these releases are within at least 5 years or older. But yeah, other than that, let's get straight into the video. Quick mention that there's a spoiler warning. Coming in at number 10, we got Scream 3. Scream 3 was definitely the worst out of the top 10. I still liked it, but it was definitely the worst. It can't beat out any of the movies that will happen further on. But still, it was a very good movie. I liked the characters, and I liked the people playing it. But there were just some things, like the device that the Scream Killer had, that could perfectly manipulate anyone's voice, was just overpowered for a movie that was made in 2000, and when technology like that didn't come, as well as this movie's characters being killed off. Or I should say, notable characters in this movie that we all wanted to see survive, and some from the previous two movies were killed off in this movie, making it disliked by fans and also making me put it at number 10. Number 9, Scream 4. Scream 4 is still ahead of Scream 3. I like this because of its killers and because of the new modern era or modern stuff that they put in the Scream 4 movie since this came out in 2011. What I don't love though is that it's just not as well made all around as Scream 1 or Scream 2, for example. Neither is Scream 3. For example, both Scream 3 and Scream 4 just don't have the well-made feeling and also just the high suspensity that you get from the other two Screams, thus making it only number 9 on my list. But don't get me wrong, I still did really enjoy this movie. I also just do think, though, that the movies I have coming up next just should be higher than Scream 4. I think most would agree on that. At number 8, we got Pet Sematary. This Stephen King horror movie is about a family from Boston moving to rural Maine to start a new life and to spend more time with the father. Overall, this movie is pretty good. I'd say I'd put it at number 8, still because there's still, I'd say, 7 more movies that are ahead of this, or better than this. But overall, just to quickly sum it up, the family finds a cemetery where if you put a body in it, they come back to life, but they come back different. They come back as more deadly, or to plant the bodies into the grave where they were buried. And overall, it is a very good and suspenseful movie, and it definitely gave me chills watching. At number 7, we got Halloween. I feel bad for anyone who hasn't seen this iconic slasher movie. It is just so well made. The main killer in this movie is Michael Myers, who has a dark backstory of murdering his sister. He's then locked up in an asylum and escapes and chases after this one specific target and goes on a murdering spree. It's a classic movie made in 1978 and one of the first kinds of slashers like these in the horror movie, in horror movies in general. It's all around just so well made, and I also love the characters in this movie. I do think they could have done a better job, I think, with some castings though. Some castings just seemed out of place, which is why I think I would put Halloween where it is at 7. But everywhere it is iconic, and it was so iconic. There is sequels there, but again, I can't include movies I haven't seen, and I haven't seen all of the sequels, So thus, I don't want to include, like, for example, 1 and 2 and leave out the rest. They also have about 10 movies. So, yeah, it would take a while to get through them. But still, Halloween's a very good movie. And just because of its placing doesn't mean I don't like it. Number 6, The Shining. The Shining, oh wow, what a classic. Another Stephen King movie. It made in 1980 and has famous actors like Jack Nicholson. This movie is overall very well made. A family that goes to a hotel and the father loses his mind. And they come to find out that another father actually previously had murdered his family, his entire family. And it was something about the hotel that causes them to lose their mind. And so the main father in this movie, played by Jack Nicholson again, completely loses his mind and attacks his family. And it is all because of the hotel. And another great one, and this is also another Stephen King book, just like Pet Sematary was. It's a book and a movie. And there was even a sequel to this movie made back in 2018. So overall, this is a very classic and iconic movie, and I would definitely recommend watching this. I put it at number 6 because, just because it just fell out of the top 5 for the next 5 movies just being so good, and it was just so hard to rank The Shining above these, or at least for my personal opinion. I know a lot of people would probably rank The Shining over some of these movies, but I would say some of these movies just have to be a little better than The Shining. But still, I definitely love this movie. And I definitely would watch this again. I've only seen this one once, but yeah, it's definitely something that I would rewatch. And I would definitely recommend it to anyone to watch this movie if you haven't seen it. Or if you've at least heard of it, also, definitely check this movie out. Number 5, Scream 2. First one of the top 5, I definitely had to put Scream 2. Since we're having all of the Screams here, I say Scream 2 is definitely my second favorite Scream movie for sure. It's almost just as good as the first one, and I found it to have just as much suspense, and the killers revealed at the end, and also the characters. They have some returning characters, and also some new characters that are pretty likable. And overall, I also do like the kills in this one. I rate also kills in horror movies, and I really do like the kinds of kills that the killers make in this movie. It's really fun, really suspenseful, and overall for me makes it pretty scary. And I really love the costume design, the masks design, and how smart the director Wes Craven is with the characters. For example, one of the killers in this movie is confirmed to be left-handed and uses their left hand throughout the movie. I'm not going to spoil any kills, but if you watch Scream 2, and if you watch any character that's closely left-handed, you might be able to tell who's the killer even from the start without me spoiling. Anyway, I just really enjoyed these kinds of movies, and I hear there's actually going to be a 5th Scream coming out, making me pretty excited. Anyway, the second movie, it's still not quite as good as the first movie, but I say easily this one also makes the top 5 for my 5 movies. I also, though, couldn't rank it ahead of the next 4. It's just the next 4 are just unbelievable. This movie is too, but to me the next 4 are just so good that it was just so hard to rank Scream 2 over the top 4 or even in the top 3 list. But still, I love this movie so much. Yes, this was the last Scream movie also, where I really just felt, again, like suspense through the whole movie. And I was really trying to figure out through the movie who could the killer possibly be. I really like these movies showing that you can actually figure them out through the movie and through the kinds of characters who would be the killer, who not. So Scream 2 is at number 5. Number 4, Us. Us is one of the newer horror movies on this list. This movie is about a family where the mother has a dark past as a childhood when she discovered her doppelganger at a circus inside an attraction. And the doppelgangers have all like the similar movements of the regular people. They live down below, and they're trying to get revenge on people, and they're trying to kill them so they can be superior over the people on the real world. So, and this movie is about trying to survive the apocalypse, because all of the shadows, which is what they're called, the underground people, the shadows, are trying to kill the everyday humans at the top. So it focuses on this family and other families trying to survive this complete apocalypse. And overall, I think it's really well made, and how the storyline is brought up, I think it's just makes it for a great movie. And overall, this is definitely, I think, my 4th favorite horror movie, for sure. It just barely falls out of the top 3, I'd say, but not by much. The top 3 horror movies are going to be, like, insane, or at least for me, these ones are insane. But still, I love this movie. I love the Us movie, and I really think that director Jordan Poole did a really good job. Number 3, Scream. Easily a top 3 on this list for me. Like the other Screams. The other Screams were still very good movies, but the first one just feels so much more. The first one just feels like the scariest, and it also just feels the most suspenseful. And the first one, I don't want to spoil it too much, but to me has the most shocking plot twist at the end, and the most shocking killers that you probably wouldn't expect, or you probably expected but crossed them off. Anyway, this movie is just so good. I love every aspect about it. I love the characters. I love the kills in this movie, how creative they're done. I love how director Wes Craven put all the small details in there. I love everything about it. I really think this movie is just perfect, and I would really, again, recommend watching this one. If you don't know any of the Screams, they're about scream killers that dress up in the Ghostface costume, killing off a bunch of characters. And they target this one character named Sidney Prescott. And I'll mainly explain this because this is the original movie where it first all starts and where it first all happens. And overall, I just really think that they couldn't have done a better job with this movie. I do wish the sequels were still better, which is why this movie series is, like, on the lower side. I think this movie series, even the Scream, could have been number 1. But I think the effects of the sequels, though, do bring it down to number 3. And that's why I couldn't put the previous 2 under Scream. But still, this is still such a good movie. And you can call me out for putting Scream at number 3, but it's the original movie, the classic and iconic. Especially all fans can mostly relate to the iconic opening scene, where you first really get the vibes of what this movie will become. And all the kills in this movie really actually scared me. It really got me suspense, jumping, and even some of the kills just got me really, like, nervous when I was going to sleep that night. Honestly, it was just such a great movie, and I think the actual feel for it, also being the killers are actual humans, and not, like, just alien creatures or something like a lot of other movies. And I didn't really think I would get that scared about a human killer, but I guess I just really did. And I think that's why Scream just does such a great job with it. So definitely Scream at number 3 here. Number 2, It. Wow, this movie was just super well made. For anyone who doesn't know what the It movies are, it's about a shapeshifter that can shapeshift into anything that you fear. It reads your mind and shapeshifts into your fear and tries to consume you. We'll put it like that. Anyway, it's just so well made. The primary thing that this shapeshifter ships in is to a clown, which is called Pennywise the Clown, which is the most terrifying fear and is the most common fear as it scares the most children. So mainly, I guess you could put it this way, yes, it's about a shapeshifter that eats kids. It's very well made, though. It's got plenty of great backstory, and I really love the characters, how the characters are primarily, like, kids, teenagers, instead of, like, main horror movie characters being, like, older, like, grown-ups. That's what I also loved about the Screams, too, is that the main characters were all teens, instead of just all, like, grown-up characters. So this horror movie really, I think, really did it well with that. So that's why I definitely have this up here for the horror movie, changing it up a bit, actually making it so it's mainly about kids, or mainly about, like, young teens, like around 13, 14, 15 years old. And I think they did very well with how scary all the kills were, and how scary with all the character design of the clown and the other things that shapeshifts into. I really think that they did a great job also filming overall. They also had some, like, more bully type characters, and some characters to show how awful this fictional town was. The fictional town is called Derry, by the way, if I didn't mention it. Anyway, so yeah, that's the It series. It did so well in the first movie that they made a second movie. They had to start making sequels, and this was actually based off the original, another Stephen King movie, actually. This is another Stephen King movie, and before the movie, it was a book. So, with there being the first one, that means number one It Chapter 2. And number one, has to be probably the best horror movie I've ever seen. It tops it off with the characters as kids becoming adults in this movie, showing their growth, and also how well made and how action-packed the scenes were. Also, because this is a sequel, any usual sequel has double amount of kills. So this scene had more kills, more action, and more actual, like, depth into the actual town itself and the entire story itself. And this is 30 years later, after they have defeated the shape-shifting clown, and they come back to this town, Derry, to face off once again. And like I said, more people die, and it gets more and more dramatic and scary. So I really think that this is also, like, a perfect sequel to the original film, and I really give credit where it's due, because I think they did a very great job. The directors did a very great job overall with these two films, and these have got to be the best, and also tops it off being the absolute scariest films I think I've ever seen. And I would really definitely consider putting these two to be top, maybe of all time. I think they should be, like, top 10 of all time for sure. I mean, obviously, sorry, that's not really my choice, but these definitely two should be top 10 of all time. I really think these movies, they were just done perfectly. The makeup, the actual effects were just all done so well, and all really brought this scare into everyone. Yeah. So with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching. This video took so long to make. So I'm sorry, actually, if I haven't posted in a while. It's because I've been sick, a bunch has been going on, and also this video has just taken over a week. It's taken over a week to make this. But anyway, that was my top 10 favorite scary movies list. So thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys in the next one.